once a week.
High Power 102.7 FM, the voice that echoes through every home, every heart. From the streets to the studio, we'll bring you real talk, real music, and real moments. We are not just a station, we are a movement. High Power 102.7 FM, the pride of the people.
Yes, a beautiful Wednesday morning to you listeners out there. And the program you're on to is In the Papers, coming to you from the stables of our Power 102.7 FM. My name is Inioluwa Adekoya, and it is a program where we preview and review newspaper headlines and news making rounds in the papers for your listening pleasure. With me this morning, I've got the Oak newspaper, the Punch newspaper, the Daily Post newspaper, and the Nation newspaper. Right about now, I will also take a short break. When I get back, I'll give you headlines making rounds in the papers this morning. Yes, beginning on the top of the list of our headlines this morning, talking federal government cash transfer. Southwest region has benefited 62 billion naira, Ayedatiwa reviews. Yes, and moving quickly to Osun State, still on the Oak newspaper, INEC assures credible Guba poll August 15th. Yes, and now quickly to Cross River. Cross River confirms fresh COVID-19 case. And now to Sokoto, fire raises 2,275 onion bag worth 56.8 million naira in Sokoto. Still taking headlines from the Oak newspaper, court adjourns El Rufai's bail ruling to June, orders continued detention. Yes, still taking headlines from the Oak newspaper. North airstrike kills several terrorists in Sambisa forest. Still taking headlines from the Oak newspaper. Federal government files 13-count charge against alleged coup plotters. Yes, quickly to the Daily Post newspaper. EFCC raises alarm over impersonators, fake sting operation in Nigerian cities. Yeah, still taking headlines from the Daily Post newspaper. Alleged incest intrigues as 64-year-old grandfather allegedly impregnates teenager. Yes, still taking headlines from the Daily Post newspaper. Court jails Yahoo School operator 5 years in Edo State. Yes, still taking headlines from the Daily Post newspaper. Nigerian Power Minister Adelabu finally announced plans to resign. You're still taking headlines from the Daily Post newspaper. Nigerian government officials complicit in facilitating terrorism. Ted Cruz tells U.S. Senate. Yes, and now still taking headlines from the Punch newspaper, talking PDP turmoil. Court moves against INEC chair Inioluwa. Yes, still talking headlines. Oyebanji re-election will validate Tinubu's influence as APC chieftain. Yeah, still taking headlines from the Punch newspaper. 167 senior police officers face disciplinary action. Yes, and quickly still taking headlines from the Nation newspaper. Silver ex-generals, others charged with coup plotting. Finally, on the Nation newspaper, Tinubu pledges more support for states. Yes, and with that, we will take another short break. When we get back, we'll give you news making rounds in the papers this morning. Stay locked into iPower 102.7 FM, and the program is In the Papers. Glad you're still there. The program you're on to is In the Papers, coming to you from the stables of High Power 102.7 FM. Beginning on the top of the list of our news this morning from the Oak newspaper, federal government cash transfers. Southwest region has benefited 62 billion naira. Ayedatiwa reveals. And now to the details. Ondo State Governor Honorable Lucky Ayedatiwa has revealed that Southwest region has benefited about 62 billion naira from the federal government cash transfer scheme under the Household Prosperity Program, adding that Ondo State alone had recorded 396 million beneficiary households across the first, second and third tranches. Ayedatiwa made this disclosure recently while receiving the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Mr. Bernard Duro, on a courtesy visit to his office in Akure. He said governance at both levels must remain complementary, commending President Bola Tinubu for the Household Prosperity and Cash Transfer Program on the Renewed Hope Agenda, which he described as a major humanitarian intervention targeting vulnerable households across the country. According to the governor, the scale of the program made targeted engagement necessary rather than full household verification, noting that selected beneficiaries drawn from the 18 local government areas were being engaged to provide first-hand feedback on implementation and impact. He therefore called for stronger synergy between the federal government and subnational government in the implementation of social intervention programs, insisting the effective delivery depends on collaboration between policy makers and structures closest to the people. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the old newspaper with the headline, Federal Government Cash Transfer, Southwest Region has benefited 62 billion naira, Ayedatiwa reviews. Yes, still on the old newspaper, talking Osun State. INEC assures credible Guba poll on the 15th of August. And now to the details. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in Osun State, has assured residents of a peaceful, credible and transparent governorship election scheduled for the 15th of August. The new Resident Electoral Commissioner, REC, in the state, Mrs. Oluwatoyin Babalola, gave the assurance while addressing protesters at the Commission's office in Osogbo on Tuesday. Recent reports that protests comprising civil society groups and market women staged a peaceful protest to the Commission's office demanding transparency, neutrality and credible elections following the transfer of the former REC, Dr. Matthew Agboke. Babalola, represented by the Commission's head of legal department, Mr. Ni Fanyoju, and head of voters education and publicity, Mr. Rufus Ariyo, assured the protesters that their vote would count. She said that the Commission had put arrangements in place to ensure that the August governorship election would be credible, free, fair and conclusive. The REC said that the fear of the residents was understandable, promising that she was in the state to uphold the integrity of the Commission and ensure that every vote would count. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the old newspaper with the headline, INEC assures credible Guba poll on the 15th of August. We are still taking headlines from the old newspaper. Cross River confirms fresh COVID-19 case. And now to the details. The State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Emi Ayuk, disclosed this to the news conference recently in Calabar, the state capital. It said the case involved a 53-year-old Chinese national who works in Lafarge in a Kampa local government area. According to him, the patient arrived in Nigeria on on the 17th of March and later fell ill, with his condition worsening as medical facilities before he was moved to the University of Calabar Teaching Hospital UCTH. IOC said samples were taken and standard protocols were followed, after which the case was confirmed as COVID-19. The Commissioner further stated in our quote, "We are, however, happy to report that he is doing well." He added the State Ministry of Health has been strengthened by the current administration to respond effectively to disease outbreak. IOC said there was no cause for alarm, noting that the state was fully prepared for surveillance and containment. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the old newspaper with this headline: Crossover confirms fresh COVID-19 case. We are still taking news from the Old newspaper. Court adjourns El-Rufai's bail, ruling to June, orders continued detention. And now to the details. A Kaduna State High Court has ordered that the former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai remain in custody of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission (ICPC) pending ruling on his bail application. Trial Judge Justice Darius Kobo adjourned ruling on the application to the first week of June after hearing arguments from both the prosecution and defense. El-Rufai is facing a 9-count amended charge bordering on alleged fraud, abuse of office, and corruption. The ICPC had earlier amended the charges, making him the sole defendant before the court. At Tuesday's proceedings, argument focused largely on the bail application. Counsel to the ICPC opposed the request, contending the granting bail could interfere with ongoing investigation, including possible tampering with witness and evidence. However, the court declined to deliver an immediate ruling and instead ordered that the former governor remain in the ICPC custody pending its decision. Counsel to the defendant, Ubong Akpan, criticized the court's position, arguing that it was unjustified and appeared to be based on assumptions about this client's status as a former governor. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Old newspaper with the headline: Court adjourns El-Rufai's bail, ruling to June, orders continued detention. Here still on the Oak newspaper, NAF airstrike kills several terrorists in Sambisa forest. And now to the details. The Nigerian Air Force says the air component of Operation Adekoya carried out precision airstrikes within the UA axis of Sambisa forest, killing several terrorists on Monday. The Director of Public Relations and Information, NAF Air Comrade Amy Ejodame, disclosed this in a statement recently in Abuja. Ejodame said the military had sustained intense pressure on terrorist elements in the northeast. He also stated the operation followed credible intelligence corroborated by intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance, which confirmed the presence of the active terrorist elements with forfeited structures and bunkers. According to him, NAF Air Assist engaged the target with precision munitions, destroying the structures, neutralizing multiple terrorists, and eliminating key logistics facilities, as confirmed by subsequent battle damage assessment. He said, and I quote, "The sustained tempo of air operations continues to degrade terrorist networks, leaving the terrorists increasingly exposed and disrupted, with mounting pressure forcing them to desperate and reactive actions." He quoted the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sunday and Nikki, as reaffirming the NAF's resolve to sustain relentless intelligence-driven air operations until terrorist elements were completely neutralized. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Old newspaper with the headline: "Knife airstrikes kill several terrorists in Sambisa forest." Yeah, still taking news from the Herb newspaper. Federal government files 13-count charge against alleged coup plotters. And now to the details. The federal government has filed a 13-count charge before the Federal High Court in Abuja against 6 individuals, including 2 retired senior military officers and a 7th police inspector, of an alleged plot to wage war against Nigeria and commit act of terrorism. The defendant, retired Major General Muhammad Ghani, retired Naval Captain Erasmus Victor, Inspector Ahmed Ibrahim Zakari Umaru, Bukagoni Abdulkadir Sani, are scheduled to be arraigned today, that is 22nd of April, before Justice Joyce Abdul Malik. Also listed in the charge and set to be at large is a former Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timipre Silva. The charge filed recently by the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation and signed by Director of Public Prosecution Rotimi Oyedepo SAN, accused the defendants of offences ranging from treason and terrorism to failure to disclose security, intelligence and money laundering linked to terrorism financing. The federal government alleged the defendants conspired in 2025 to levy war against state to overpower the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It further alleged that the defense had prior knowledge of a planned treasonable act involving one Colonel Muhammad Al-Hassan Maji and others, but failed to alert security authorities. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Herb newspaper with the headline, Federal Government files 13-count charge against alleged coup plotters. Yes, still on the Herb newspapers, Tinubu shakes cabinet, drops Edun for Oyedele, Dangiwa for Dama. And now to the details. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in a cabinet reshuffle, has replaced the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of Economy, Wale Edun, with Minister of State for Finance, Taiwo Oyedele. Edun was directed to hand over to Oyedele, who is to take over as substantive Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of Economy. Oyedele is an indigene of Ondo State. In a related development, the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Ahmed Musa Dangiwa, has also exited President Tinubu's cabinet. His replacement has also been named as Mutaka Rabe Dama. The approval of the cabinet reshuffle was announced by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume. In a memo personally signed by Akume, Edun was directed to hand over to Oyedele, who was previously the Minister of State for Finance. Dama was also named ministerial nominee, a minister designate for the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. The memo also directed Dangiwa to hand over to the Minister of State in the ministry. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Herb newspaper with the headline, Tinubu shakes cabinet, drops Edun for Oyedele, Dangiwa for Dama. Yes, so now quickly moving to the Daily Post newspaper. Nigerian government officials complicit in facilitating terrorism, Ted Cruz tells the U.S. Senate. And now to the details. Senator Ted Cruz has accused officials of the Nigerian government of facilitating violence against Christians in the country. The lawmaker, who spoke on the floor of the Senate, lamented that despite the government's promises to tackle security crisis, more Christians are being killed. He said while some states are still practicing Sharia law, the federal government has decided to look the other way as terrorists continue to launch mayhem on unsuspecting citizens. He said, and I quote, more Christians are killed for their faith in Nigeria than anywhere else in the world. Since 2009, the Islamic jihadists have murdered more than 50,000 Christians in Nigeria. More than 20,000 churches, schools, and religious institutions have been destroyed. Scores of Christians and several others were kidnapped. Nigerian officials have unfortunately been complicit in facilitating those atrocities. The government looks the other way at the violence. The result is unsurprisingly more Islamic jihadist violence. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Daily Post newspaper with the headline, Nigerian government officials complicit in facilitating terrorism, Ted Cruz tells U.S. Senate. Yes, still on the Daily Post newspaper, EFCC raises alarm over impersonators' fake sting operation in the Nigerian cities. And now to the details. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has raised the alarm over what it described as a fake sting operation being carried out by impersonators across major cities in Nigeria. The Commission raised the alarm in a statement issued recently by its head, Media and Publicity, Dele Oyewale. The statement revealed that several indigenous but fraudulent means have been employed by those described as dark characters to besmirch the reputation of the EFCC. Buttressing the claim, the Commission said there is a gang of fraudsters now operating around eateries and fun spots in major cities across the country. The statement further reads, and I quote, their modus operandi is laying ambush for innocent youths coming out of eateries and harassing them on a founded suspicion of being internet fraudsters and dispossessing them of their valuables. This character usually portrays the identities of authentic EFCC officers by dressing in fake uniforms and moving their victims to locations bearing fictitious resemblance to an EFCC office. There is also a gang of itinerant criminals harassing innocent motorists on identities of their number plates. These dangerous weapons to compel their victims to offer them money on trumped-up accusations. There's yet another tribe of online impersonators and fraudulent content creators dramatizing fake sting operations of the EFCC with evidence of broken doors, windows, and forced entrances into their premises. Such uncharacteristic portrayals of the EFCC would deceive unsuspecting members of the public into holding the Commission and its officers culpable of contrived actions of impersonators. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Daily Post newspaper with the headline, EFCC raises alarm over impersonators' fake sting operations in Nigerian cities. Yes, still taking news from the Daily Post newspaper. Alleged incest intrigues as 64-year-old grandfather allegedly impregnates teenager. And now to the details. A 16-year-old girl in Lufari Mariga local government area of Niger State was already about 6 months pregnant before the matter was reported to the authorities. The case is now under investigation involving allegation of incest, which is raising child protection concerns within the family. The suspect is a 64-year-old grandfather, Musa Gado, who is currently in custody at the State Criminal Investigation Department, SCID. The case was first reported on the 5th of October 2025 by the victim's father, Lawali Nababa, alongside the community leader. Speaking during an interview, the Director General of Nigerian State Child's Rights Agency, Barrister Ulumukatum Muhammad said the matter initially appeared to be a family issue because before it escalated into a criminal investigation. She said the girl was immediately taken into protective custody after the report was received. The DG also confirmed that the teenager later gave birth to a baby boy in December 2025. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Daily Post newspaper with the headline, Alleged Incest Intrigues as 64-year-old grandfather allegedly impregnates teenager. Yeah, still taking news from the Daily Post newspaper. Court jails Yahoo school operator 5 years in Edo. And now to the details. A suspected operator of a cybercrime training center, popularly referred to as Yahoo School, Goodluck Ejimiyare, has been sentenced to 5 years imprisonment by Justice Professor C.A. Obiozo of the Federal Court sitting in Benin City. Ejimiyare was earlier apprehended by the troops of the Nigerian Army 4 Brigade headquarters alongside 17 youths at the facility known as Osu Kingdom, after which he was handed over to Benin Zonal Directorate of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) for further investigation. During interrogation, several of the youths reportedly admitted that they had been recruited by Ejimiyare into operations which authorities described as a training ground for internet fraud activities. The anti-graft agency subsequently arraigned him on the 30th of March 2026 on an amended one-count charge bordering on conspiracy with an Ebuka Henry Eze, who is currently at large to commit internet fraud. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Daily Post newspaper with the headline, Court jails Yahoo school operator 5 years in Edo State. Yes, the program you're still onto is in the papers on iPower 102.7 FM. The time has come for you to call in for comments and contributions to any of the headlines and news read out to you. The number to call is 0816 552 4699. 0816 552 4699. You can also reach out to us on our social media handles on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at iPower 1027 FM and on X at iPower 1027. Right about now, we will take a short break. When we get back, we'll give you more news making rounds in the papers this morning. Stay locked into In the Papers, coming to you from iPower 102.7 FM. Yes, the phone lines are still open to call in for comments and contributions to any of the news read out to you. The number to call is 0816 552 4699. 0816 552 4699. And now back to the Daily Post newspaper. Nigerian Power Minister Adelabu finally announces plan to resign. And now to the details. Nigerian Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, has finally announced plans to drop his resignation from President Bola Tinubu's cabinet. A spokesperson, Bola Tunji, disclosed this in a statement recently. He said his resignation is for him to explore gubernatorial aspirations in Oyo State ahead of the 2027 elections. Recent reports that the minister presided over Nigerian failed power sector despite the electricity tariff hike in April 2024. Recall that in the last months, Nigeria experienced an inadequate electricity supply, which Adelabu acknowledged as different for or without offering actionable solutions. In view of the development, Chief Adebayo Adelabu is expected to resign his position as the Minister of Power in the coming days, he said. Meanwhile, checks with newsmen showed that the minister promised 6,000 megawatts of electricity by the end of last year, but the country battled with between 2,500 megawatts and 3,500 megawatts for the population of over 250 million persons. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Daily Post newspaper with the headline, Nigerian Power Minister Adelabu finally announces plans to resign. Yes, still taking headlines, and now from the Punch newspaper, talking PDP turmoil. Court moves against INEC chair, says Inioluwa. Court moves against INEC chair, Inioluwa. And now to the details. The High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, has issued a notice of consequences of the disobedience of court order against the National Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, Samuel Inioluwa, and the Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Joash Amukbiton. The court in Form 48, dated 20th of April 2026, cited by newsmen, warned that they risk imprisonment if they fail to comply with its 12th of January 2026 judgment dismissing Inioluwa's suit of challenging his expulsion from the PDP. And the FCTI Court public notice and suit number CV/1050/2025. Inioluwa is listed as a respondent, while key PDP figures, including Damago, representing the party's National Executive Committee, are listed alongside others as judgment creditors and applicants. Also listed in the matter is the INEC chairman, Amukbiton. This notice titled Form 48 warned of the consequence of disobedience to the judgment of the court delivered on the 12th of January 2026. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Punch newspaper with the headline, PDP turmoil, court moves against INEC chair, Inioluwa. Here still on the Punch newspaper, ex-PDP scribe lead 52-man Adeleke re-election campaign. And now to the details. The 52-member committee saddled with the responsibility of managing the re-election campaign of Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke will be chaired by the ex-National Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, Professor Wale Oladipo. According to a statement obtained recently, Oladipo, a professor of nuclear chemistry who currently chairs the governing council of the Osun State University, will work with the deputy minority leader of the Senate, Lere Oyewumi, who is appointed as the Director General of the campaign committee. The Commissioner for Information, Mr. Kolape Alimi, will serve as Deputy Director General with the convener of the Coalition of Public Interest Lawyers and Advocates in Nigeria, Pelumi Olajengbesi, serving as the spokesperson, and Bola Ajao as the secretary. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Punch newspaper with the headline, Ex-PDP scribe leads 52-man Adeleke re-election campaign. Still taking headlines from the Punch newspaper, 167 senior police officers face disciplinary action. And now to the details. The Nigerian Police Force commenced disciplinary proceedings against 167 senior officers over alleged misconduct and breaches of professional standards. The exercise being conducted by the Force Disciplinary Committee at the Force Headquarters in Abuja is aimed at reviewing pending cases involving officers from the rank of Assistant Superintendent of Police and above. According to a statement by the Force spokesperson, Anthony Placid, the committee is mandated to thoroughly examine each case in line with established laws and regulations and make appropriate recommendations to the Police Service Commissions for necessary actions. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Punch newspaper with the headline, 167 senior police officers face disciplinary action. Yes, and quickly to the Nation newspaper, Tinubu pledges more support for state. And now to the details. Enugu stakeholders got President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's assurance of a stronger federal collaboration to drive development at the subnational level. The president identified the Port Harcourt and Enugu rail line, power sector reforms, and other critical infrastructure as some of the key projects that would receive sustained attention. The stakeholders, including former Senate President Ken Namani, former Governor Ifeanyi Uguwanyi, and Suvian Chime, Chief of Air Staff, CAS, Air Marshal Kelvin Aneke, Espouse Ngozi, and one-time Information Minister Frank Nweke Jr., were led by the Governor Dr. Peter Umba. Others in the entourage to President Tinubu at the State House were elder statesman Chief Jim Nwobodo, Senator Osita Ungo, Ejike Mbaka, Bishop Christian Onyea, Igwe S. Asadu, Osita Okechukwu, Dr. Dan Shari, former Chief of Naval Staff, CNS, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala. Tinubu traced Nigerians' development and growth challenges to the failure of past administrations to adopt a serious long-term plan and framework, particularly in financing critical infrastructure. The president also noted that successive government had attempted to fund long-term projects with short-term resources, a mismatch, he said, and hindered sustainable development. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on The Nation newspaper with the headline, Tinubu pledges more support for states. Yes, the phone lines are still open for comments and contribution, and the number to call is 0816-552-4699, 0816-552-4699. Right about now, we'll take another short break. When we get back, we'll have our in-house political analyst through 1 or 2 cents on the news making round in the paper this beautiful morning. Yes, glad you're still there. The program you're on to is in the papers, coming to you from the stables of our Power 102.7 FM. And like I said before we went on that short break, I said we would have in-house political analyst through 1 or 2 cents on the conversation making rounds in the papers this awesome morning. A beautiful morning to you, Akin Adebayo.
Good morning, and thanks for having me on the program today.
Yes, many thanks to you for always showing up when we call.
It is a pleasure.
Yes, and now we've got this coming from the Herb newspaper as federal government has filed a 13-count charge against the alleged coup plotters, said the defendant, retired Major General Muhammad Ghana, retired Naval Captain Erasmus Victor, Inspector Ahmed Ibrahim, Zakari Umaru, Bokar Goni, Abdul Kadir Sani. They are scheduled to be arraigned today before Justice Joyce Abdul Malik. And the charge, which was filed on Monday by the Office of the Attorney General Federation, signed by Rotimi Oyedepo SAN, accused the defendant of offences ranging from treason, terrorism, to failure to disclose security intelligence and money laundering linked to terrorism financing. What do you have to say about this?
Thank you very, very much. Well, it's just unfortunate that we still have some military officers that are still plotting coup in Nigeria after about 25 years of return back to democracy. So these are issues that are actually giving us concern. But the question again is this: why the intention to plot a coup against a democratically elected government? I think the reason is best known to them. But that is one. Secondly, that bit of democracy and again, because For instance, if it were to be in the military settings by now, they would have been court-martialed. And with the means you are court-martialed, I'm sorry, it is the automatic death penalty. So, but in democracy, it's just given for fair hearing, no matter what happens, it's still your right. It's your inalienable right to still be given that fair hearing. Okay, what led to what? You now go there and explain yourself. I think that is why they're now going to appear before a federal high court. But be that as it may, I think the idea of military now plotting a coup was equally stemmed out from what has been happening in some North African countries. For instance, should I say in Guinea, is it Guinea and I've forgotten this country. Some African countries, so to speak, some about 4 of them now they've tried, to have taken over. But Nigeria is a multi-ethnic country whereby for school not to survive, you're going to take serious hard work. And again, from what I discovered in previous African countries that maybe coup military have taken over, it was not done externally, it was done internally. So I don't see coup surviving in the Nigerian system as it is. But of course, these guys were people that actually, they went as far as infiltrating the NSA's office. And that is why whenever the issue of, for instance, Nasir El-Rufai comes up, and you see FCC or ICPC charging him for maybe for the whatever, I get annoyed because this was a guy that went on air and said that he tapped into this telephone of the NSA. Now, I'm just, this is my opinion anyway. How can we now separate the milk from the bad water regarding what he said and what actually happened again concerning the coup? So if another civilian who had the facility, or should I say the temerity, the impetus to tap into the phone of the NSA, and much more the military officers. So these are the things. So that is by the way. And secondly, like you've always said, and from research that you've always known, there is no coup that is being plotted that the civilian will not be involved. And that brings us to the issue of Senator Silva, a former Bayelsa State governor and a former minister, a immediate past minister for petroleum states. And the question is he angry that maybe he's not being given appointment again? Is that why he's involved in the coup? These are the things, but it's now at large. So he has not been caught to come and give his own version of what led to what. But better as it may, I think it's a good thing that at least these coup plotters are given fair hearing. They're having their day in court, and I think the court will do justice to what is appropriate. But of course, my concern again is our judicial system, because this is the case now that ought to have been done and dispensed with. But look at, they're still on it now, just starting the first trial of Imagine Federal High Court. Now from there they appeal to the Court of Appeal, from there to Supreme. So this is a case that may even linger for the next 3-4 years. And this is the issue of our judicial system. Can't there be a speedy trial? And why the delay? Can you imagine the Kwara, of armed robbery that took place, I think maybe years back. Years back, they are just I've forgotten about well over 10 years that this issue happened. Now they are just dispensing judgment on that matter. These are the problems with our judicial system, and I want to believe that Honorable Justice Kekere Ekun, this was part of this was a judge then in Lagos that actually contributed to the overhauling of the judicial system of Lagos. Can't she replicate the same thing now that she is the CJN? So these are the results I'm expecting from people that have in one way or the other performed wonderfully well at their various space, in lower space. Now that you have been privileged to be in a higher position to actually redefine things, reshape things, redirect things, reposition things in a way that things will begin to move smoothly, particularly in our judicial system. I think Honorable Justice Kekere Ekun has a lot to do. So you really need to meet up to responsibility accrued to her. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Akin Adebayo. Yes, quickly moving on to the Daily Post newspaper. We've got this on the Nigerian Power Minister Adelabu, as he has finally announced plans to resign. But he says that his resignation is for him to explore his gubernatorial aspirations in Oyo ahead of the 2027 election. But before his resignation, there were actually some promises he made, and he promised 6,000 megawatts of electricity at the end of last year. But the country battled with between 2,500 megawatts and 3,500 for a population of 250 million persons. Even when he was the Minister of Power, I am not sure he was able to deliver. What would you say about his resignation, and even when he was in the minister? He was the Minister of Power.
Well, thank you very, very much. Number one, the Adelabu trying to throw in the towel now. I personally see the kind of you want to maybe it's been given a soft landing.
Okay.
Yesterday there was kind of mini cabinet reshuffle. That Wale Edun and one other minister, I've forgotten his name. Dalima or whatever. Now when they resigned, or maybe they were relieved. In fact, no, they were relieved. There are ways Nigeria will garnish. We want to paint some picture that way we garnish with those good grammars. They paint in a way that you will not see them that they are being sacked or being told to be. They are relieved.
Okay.
And Kekeria, Wale Edun for some time now. It has been announced that it's not. Elsewise, and and aside that, the very minute Oyedele was appointed as Minister for State Finance, I knew that he was just in the waiting room for Wale Edun to move, and he gets there, and that happened yesterday. Now, concerning the issue of Adelabu, if I'm not mistaken, this was the guy that was so ambitious about the governorship ambition. And the window, with emphasis, the window for resignation for you to go and contest is already closed. Because there was a particular thing that they were asked, if you don't want to contest for any political office, resign. And people actually resigned then.
They did.
Why is Adelabu is trying to resign now? And moreover, now that I've forgotten his name, has been tipped now for your state governor, former SSG to Rashid Ladoja. I've forgotten his it was made an order by Sheyi Makinde and said he's not going to pick up any ownership position for now. That rather I want to go for governorship as ambition. And a former chief of staff, that's SSG to Ladoja. And Ladoja and Tinubu should not deceive herself. These are very close allies. If I'm not mistaken, in the history of Nigeria, the first coronation of the president to be there in person happens to be that of Ladoja. Not even when the generals and maybe civilian military officers or civilian government presidency from the north, when they were there, none of them even graced the turban of Sultan of Sokoto. None of them graced the turban of Emir of Kano. But for Tinubu to have jettisoned a United Nations General Assembly then and deem it fit to come to the coronation of his friend, that's not Rashid Ladoja, it speaks volume. And if Ladoja now, either we like it or not, give it to him. When it comes to your state government and politics, give it to Ladoja. In fact, Ladoja, I can tell you for free, I was in Ibadan then, contributed more than 60-70% to the emergence of Sheyi Makinde. So if Ladoja is now pushing forward its SSG, not directly anyway, he speaks volume. So there is no way. So but for this guy to be thinking of resigning now, after the window for further registration has been closed, I suspect something there. Okay. It is possible he must have been sensing that maybe he's about to be disengaged. That is why probably he wants to resign before he's asked to leave. So concerning of megawatt, well, this is Nigeria. From 6,000 megawatt, anything can still happen. But better as it may, if you want to resign, let him resign so that capable hands can be brought on board to actually implement policies that make our electric generation more affordable and more efficient. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much for that. Yes, and with that, we've come to a wrap in today's edition of In the Papers. Many thanks to you listeners out there who consistently tune in to listen to In the Papers from the stables of Power 102.7 FM. And we hope this review has kept you informed of what is making rounds in the papers this morning. Until next time, my name remains Inioluwa Adekoya. Have a wonderful day and God bless you.